Support for 100 Watts in a Wire is provided by Bioenno Power. If you're looking for a power solution, check out Bioenno Power, offering the best lithium phosphate batteries for your ham radios. Visit bioennopower.com. That's BIOENNOPOW.com. LDG Electronics provides state-of-the-art antenna tuners for every amateur need. An LDG desktop tuner works automatically with nearly any station and up to 1,000 watts. LDG power tuners are ideal for portable and mobile use as they consume almost no current and can be powered by internal batteries that last up to a year. LDG tuners are backed by our 2-year, fully transferable warranty and our legendary customer service, the best in the industry. Visit us on the web at ldgelectronics.com.
And now, from Grid Square Echo Mike 48, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
Well, hello and welcome, friends. Welcome to 100 Watts and a Wire. It's Christian. My call sign is Kilo Zero Sierra Tango Hotel. And it's going to be pretty hard for you not to notice that today I am wearing, I don't even know what I'll just get the proper terminology from our friend who's going to be joining us here today. But this was a gift, right? It was a gift. So I'm wearing it today because he's going to be on the show. And we're going to be talking about digital modes. That's right, digital modes. And I can hear some of you trying to just go ahead and turn it off, but I don't think you should. We're going to talk about digital modes today, which ones you enjoy using, and why. So let me bring Steve in here, W7UDI, and we really realized that we were going to do a show with the digital modes, and we don't know dick about the digital modes. So this will be the shortest show ever. You'll have plenty of time to go make food and do whatever because we know nothing. Absolutely nothing. But we do have a friend here
tad bit
who does. And I definitely wanted to introduce you to him. And I'm going to bring him up. Here he is Adam, Kilo Mike 7 November. And this is my friend. And I'm wearing this jacket in honor of him. And I'll give you a little backstory. He is active military. He's in the Air Force. And we met in about 2016, I would guess. If we had met before that, it probably was a digital space. And we worked the Parks on the Air. It was the National Parks on the Air at that time. We activated the Gateway Arch, which is a national park. At the time, Adam was in, I guess you were at, don't tell me, Scott Air Force Base. You were stationed somewhere there. And I invited you over to just come and activate with us, right? And so he came, damn near froze to death, Steve. This guy's from the West, okay? But I'm talking about the nice West where it's nice and warm most of the time. Toes may melt. The Southwest, where your toes could melt in the summer, but winter is manageable. And I remember he was really, really cold. He was cold, but we had a blast. And I got to just brag on what I know about Adam being active military still. And when we talked before, he was getting close to thinking about retirement, but suddenly it seems like he's still back in here. He's still doing some stuff. I know for a fact that he has done at least 500 hours of combat. He, to me, is a war hero. I don't know if there is such a thing as that. I know it sounds strange to say, but he's a hero to me nonetheless. And I want to introduce you to Steve. Steve's here. I know you've met in the digital realm. So, Steve, there's Adam, and you guys can now see face-to-face, which is lovely.
Well, I think the best thing here is that we all share a barber.
Yeah, we don't have to pay much in haircuts.
No. $20 and we're done.
So,
in and out.
That's right.
Our friends who listen...
Free.
Yeah, I just pick it. I mean, whatever the cost of a razor is, that's basically what I do. Our friends who listen to the podcast, you can join us Saturday mornings when we do the show live. We record it live. At this point in time, you can join into the chat. All our friends in the chat, you're welcome to say hello to Adam. And people might be saying, hey, see, child, why? Why this Adam? Why is he here anyway? Well, Adam is going to be like the mayor of this neighborhood in the 100 Watts and Wire community. He understands the digital modes, and if not, he's definitely got an interest in a handful of them, And Steve and I literally don't know dick. This is one of those things where you better call in somebody because you don't know anything. So we'll be talking about that a little bit as we go. Missing, of course, from our live stream today, and we got to say, Scotty is not here. For some reason, GB is missing, tardy or late. There is some, late and tardy are both the same thing. Missing, I hope he's not missing. He's on APRS. We could probably pull that up and see if he's driving around. Many people feel that he's on the gummies. You know, he's got a thing. His car was stolen. They found a bunch of weed and gummies in the dashboard. Mm-hmm. And he may have consumed them. We don't know this for sure, but
he's on a gummy run.
His new nickname is GB for short, but GB is an acronym for Gummy Bitch. So he's Gummy Bitch until he shows up. You can call him GB if you want. Say it, Pastor GB. Joe. Pastor Joe, let me hear you say his name. I think he can do it. Welcome to everybody. We are seeing Ben, who joined us last week. He said gummies. So GB, putting out an all points bulletin for him. I also want to encourage you, if you have a question. Now, we may not be able to answer all these questions today. We have some queued up, some that came from the forum. If you have a question today in the chat, the live chat, put a Q in front of it, and we'll try to pull those. Although GB is not here to do that for us today, we will try to get by without.
We'll do our best.
We'll do our best without Gummy Bitch.
We'll do our best.
I think so we got our military hero here with us, and then we subject him to that. I was concerned about wearing this jacket. I still consider it his jacket. He gave it to me, and this morale patch over here on this side. Love all this. But what did I write you? I wrote you right away, and I was concerned about. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. You were worried about being an imposter, but absolutely not. I think anyone who sees you with that is just immediately going to think you're cool. So
I hope so, man. You know what I mean? Like, there were some people that have been wearing uniforms in, like, airports and pretending to be service people, and there was a whole thing about people kind of calling them out, like, you're fake.
The whole stolen valor thing, yeah.
Yeah, like uncool, but he put my mind to ease because it is a super cool jacket, super soft. And I imagine you got this when you were flying out here when it was colder, right? This is a cold weather type of flying jacket?
It is, and what we always like to say when we're getting ready is you dress to egress. So if you're going to be flying anywhere where there's cold, even if it's warm when you're taking off, you want to dress under the assumption that you might have to jump out of that airplane at some point. So
wow.
Dress to egress.
Yeah, I was talking to my daughter because it's kind of I don't know if you'd call it like a hipster, but it comes like right to your hip and it's short. And I was like, well, I think it's short because they're sitting in a cockpit and they won't want all this extra layers of long coat or too long. So it's a pretty condensed piece.
It is. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, and you don't want it interfering with your parachute harness that goes right around your midsection. So.
Oh, see, we're learning some stuff here today, Steve. I knew we brought the right guy here. Each week I put a question up, and speaking of Adam's been a moderator for 100 Watts and a Wire for a really long time. He also moderates in our Discord. Luckily, we don't have, it kind of is self-policing. All the alpha hotels sort of, they disappear over time, like the QRM they might be. But so he's been a major part of our community for a long time, keeping the peace, if you will. Oh, and Steve, I got to say something about this. I want to show you behind me. I got the Rig Expert. This is a product that's made in the Ukraine. And I got an email from Michael. This is going to be a little, I'll just put it up here. And it comes from the maker of Rig Expert. And it's on your screen here. The podcast listeners, I can read through it. But it's an urgent appeal to our partners and ham radio operators because Russia, and we don't, I don't want to get into the politics here, but I will tell you that I'm standing with the Ukraine here and freedom of it. You don't have to say anything about it at all. Rig Expert is a ham radio company based in the Ukraine. And they say, quote, because Russia treacherously launched a war against the Ukrainian people, our company is promptly looking for new ways to manufacture and transport REU devices. The usual methods of supply, unfortunately, are cut off. But thanks to the help and assistance of our friends from different parts of the world, including ordinary amateurs, we already see several options for organizing the work of the warehouse and deliveries in critical war conditions. The reorganization process will take some time, approximately a week, considering the following weekend when there will be no ability for deliveries. We want the whole world to hear and see the tragedy of the war in Ukraine. Part of our team has already gone to open frontline. The rest continue to work, replenishing the budget of the motherland. We encourage you to provide information support. We need to protect the airspace over Ukraine and attract the attention of the world community in the maximum. If you have the opportunity, please support Ukraine on any social media networks. Demand the most severe financial sanctions against Russia from your government. The biggest and strongest sanctions should impact Russia. The government is slow, but it is possible. It is impossible to delay in this case. If Ukraine cannot hold out in this fight, then there is a high probability that Europe will be the next victim of Russian soldiers. Pray for Ukraine. Sincerely, Rig Expert Team. And this is a product that I use. Let me bring it in. I'll show it to you. And it's my front line, pardon the pun, in my antenna analyzer. And I love it. It's a great product, and I'm wishing the best for those people. Steve also uses it. So thank you for letting me indulge. That came to email through Michael, KB9 VBR. You know him from his antenna company and his YouTube channel. He shared that with me. So I'm just passing that along because they're going to be having some struggles there. It's not looking good this weekend, and we'll have to see how things play out. I know it's political, but wartime is war, and it's awful, and it's the absolute worst for citizens. And so I'm thinking of them. I will give Steve any time he needs. If he wants to say anything, Adam here as well, who's flown in missions and 500 hours of combat in these things. And it can't be easy for the people and for the people of Russia, because this is a political move. Not everybody in Russia is bad, and there's a big Russian amateur radio community. So it's a tricky one here, Steve. War sucks. That's all I'll say. It sucks worse than moving. And I'm trying to keep it light here, but war is just the worst.
Yeah, it's terrible, and it's unfortunate that it's gotten to this, and we wish the best for everyone involved, because there's not a good outcome out of all this.
Adam, I'm not gonna put you in a strange situation, but I know you've flown in wartime. And what's that feeling like? What's it feel like for a man whose job it is to work in wartime?
Well, I'd say the one important thing is that we're all human, and it's hard to ignore when you're face to face with it, the human aspect of it. And I don't think anybody who's ever been in that situation has ever come back with a feeling of joy. There really is none of that. There's some necessary things that you have to do, but it's heartbreaking when that's the reality. It really is.
Appreciate that. And I think that's well said. There really is no winners. Of course, you go there with a mission. You know that you need to accomplish it. From an American standpoint, in your standpoint, you had a mission to do. You want to achieve that. You want to put that. You want to make it work and do everything that you can for your mission. But people on the ground in both of those countries are the ones that are struggling. So I don't want to belabor this. But this is a company. It's a ham radio company. They make a really good antenna analyzer. If you've ordered the products, I mean, you got to pay attention to what's going on. Things are changing all the time. Not to get so heavy, but it's my show. We're going to talk about whatever we want to. We talk about pooping dogs, whatever. So it's just it's what's going on in the world. This is the intersection of amateur radio and life, and that's what's going on in the world. There's no need to turn a blind eye to it. But since we've got Adam here, I'm like, hey, didn't mean it, just tied together. Here I am wearing a jacket and all this cool stuff. But he's here to talk about the digital modes, and he understands a little bit more of this. We created a space on our Discord. We've got a small team of people there led by Adam. Questions come in, and I can't pitch them to Steve. I can't answer them. I don't know. So we've developed this area in our Discord for the digital modes. So conversation is happening. There's a digital mode team there. And we're talking about doing some content, kind of building some, and it's tough because, I have to let Adam run this game here of trying to put together a foundation piece by piece, little bits of content that may help bigger people. We think it's cool that we can maybe fire an email off and help Johnny, but we may reach more people if we can put it in the podcast or we can put it up on the YouTube channel. So those things are happening here for our digital friends. Here's a bucket of worms, and I know that I'll ask our community here, it's in the chat, visiting with us as we do the show live. If you're into the digital modes, just give us like a thumbs up. Let us know. I know some people aren't. We don't want to, we're not trying to cause dissension here. It's ridiculous. We let people be what they want to be. So what I did was I posted the question up on our Facebook group, and just to see who was interested, and I told Adam, I think I put this up there, man. I don't know if anybody's going to respond. And usually people are like, they'll take a leak right on top of the digital stuff, And I posted in there, and people were really kind. I got to say, I put the disclaimer in there. Everybody's welcome. Inflammatory comments are not, because I just know that the digital modes get, they get a little.
They get dumped on.
They get dumped on.
They get the poop. They. More than the dog poop, they get crapped on.
You've been a ham for a long time. Why? And there's been digital modes for a long time. Steve, what's the problem? Like, why can't people get it together?
The ones that are crapping on it, I think, just don't understand it. They're intimidated by it. They don't want to learn about it. And admit that they don't know about it. I could tell you about the technical aspect of it, the modulation scheme, or this or that, but that's just the technical part. There's more to the digital modes. There's the operating modes, and just here recently there was talk about people that are brand new in the FT8 world are not operating properly. You got to be more like a split, and because you'll hammer the guy, and some people are not real kind about it, and not willing to Elmer people. They just want to be a-holes. And so there's more to the digital modes than just the technical aspects of it. There's the operating aspects of it, and every mode has its unique personalities and quirks and how. And I just haven't gotten into it. Just on the technical side, that's a 100% duty cycle mode, or that's a 50% duty cycle mode. It is using single sideband, upper sideband. We are modulating it to run, a little bit lower power, and things like that. But when it comes to the mode itself, on how to operate it, sidecar it fell out of the sidecar.
Yeah, Adam, why do you dig it? Why do you like it?
Well, let me start off by saying thanks for the humbling introduction in the beginning. I have to say that NASA back in the 60s, I think, taught monkeys how to fly spaceships. So it kind of makes what I do a little less cool. So with that being said, I got my license back in 2002, but didn't really do much until about 2010 when I decided, hey, this is really cool. I should have been doing something with this a long time ago. So I upgraded to general and got on to HF. And so I live in an HOA. That's a total tangent that I'm sure we could talk about some other time. But what it does is it restricts a little bit of what I can do with antennas. So had to be a little bit stealth in the backyard, putting up a vertical and a couple of low-hanging wires, which isn't great for getting out. So I had to do a little bit of research on what are my options? And I discovered, this is back in 2010, discovered PSK 31. And I figured out I've got this 90s vintage HF radio. I've got a computer, got some cables. I might be able to make this thing work. And so what I discovered is, with my compromised setup, really in every sense of the word, I downloaded some software. I got on PSK 31, and I think my second contact was somewhere in Europe. And It just blew my mind. And so that really got me turned on to the whole digital thing. And so I've explored all kinds of things from JT65. I was an early adopter of that. The digital modes, what they do for me is they really allow me to get out without a big tower, without an amp, and really be able to work around the world. I'm big into DX. I've got somewhere around 230 DXCC entities worked, a little over 200 confirmed, all with 100 watts. And probably a wire, if not a vertical. And I'd say somewhere in 70% of those are all digital contacts. So it really opens up the world, in my view. And that's why I like it.
Nice.
Let's go over to
Very nice.
we put the question out just to see what other people are getting out of this. The question was the digital modes. What digital mode do you enjoy using and why? And 74 answers came back. And there was no one really giving anybody a hard time, which is great. And I think that reflects the integrity of the community, and at least the initial intent of our community being inclusive. And you know what? If this isn't your bag, then that's okay. And we're not trying to convert anybody, but we're here to let you know that we're going to be working on, a way to service that part of the audience. Clearly, there's people who need to use it. Alan says, where to start? FT8, 4. Now, I'm going to say a lot of things now, Steve. I have no idea what I'm saying. I have no idea what any of this stuff is, except for RTTY, which I've heard of. Vera, WindLink, Feld, Hell, JS8 Call, Whisper, Slow Scan TV, Wires X, which we actually have a 100 watts in a wire digital space there. We need to talk about that at some point because I've forgotten all about that. And the original digital mode, CW. Mm-hmm. Of course, I put Y there because I was trying to fish for why do you like it. And he continues, usually it's because it takes voice out of the equation. I'm often operating late into the night, and my shack is in our bedroom. So there you go. There's another space type issue. Plus, he's letting his partner sleep at night. Lloyd says he loves CW, the original digital mode for digital voice. He loves Ham Shack Hotline, D-Star, which I've played a little bit about with even. Fusion on a multi-mode digital voice bridge. He says that CW is the easiest digital mode to use. I guess, yeah, of course, if you learn the code and all that sort of stuff. Let's see, Dave. I've tried many of them, and they all have their place. Although FT8 is the most popular, I like it as far as seeing what propagation is like, but it's not my favorite. I tend to gravitate toward PSK and RTTY. George, see what George has to say. I use Packet Radio and Vera HF with Willing. I love doing PSK 31, and have tried FT8, but find FT8 rather boring to use. So quick little jab, but that's okay. He gave us some information. He's still using it. And if all the modes, there's so many modes, if one's not for you, that's all right. Let's see, George wrote several small children's novels there underneath of that one. Going down to Mike, did write a bit there. FT8, JS8 for HF, D-Star, and YSF for 2 meters and 440. He likes D-Star and YSF because he can talk around the world using less than a watt. Mm-hmm. Let's see, Ricardo, our friend Ricardo in Florida, now FT8 because of its simplicity and range with low power setting. Years back, I was sick and needed something to keep me entertained. Even while I was sick, this mode did. I was using RTTY, PSK 63 also. He's Kilo Victor 4 Oscar Papa. many, many here. And if you want to read through that, finding your people is important in life, in general. If you're into the digital modes, listening to this, and do any social media, we're on Facebook, and do a search for Community Question, and you'll find them. I may not keep them pinned up there forever, but they will populate if you do a search for that. Let's see. Tim says he's not a digital guy. He only got on FT8 for reasons. He used his radio and the bands were so bad. That'll work. He used it.
A lot of people did that. That's what got a lot of people, like in Adam's case, through the solar cycle minimums. And FT8 was one of those modes that allowed for that. And it was great. Like you, I started with PSK 31. In fact, if you go, I dealt with Packet many years ago, back in the 90s when it first came out. And but what kind of got the newer digital modes more popular, and I think it started with PSK 31, was there was free software. Everybody had computers, so now you just integrated it. And in the early days, we had to make interfaces. So when I got in, dabbled with PSK 31, I built my own interface to interface between the radio and the computer, and then got out there and operated. And I kind of got bored with it because it became pretty regiment. Everyone had little macros set up. So there was like, this is my station, this is my QTH, this is what's going on. It was, once they went through that list of macros, and it's like, well, okay, so, what else are you doing? What, they didn't want to have keyboard to keyboard contact. It was like, next, move on. And I was like, that's all, come on, let's use the mode for what it is. But that was my personal experience with it. But that was back in probably when you got into it, Adam. It was early 2000s when PSK 31 first came out. And now it's just more, Mr. Taylor's bringing out more and more modes. And that's what's cool about it, is you don't have to have a lot of expensive equipment or outboard equipment to get involved in the mode. It's just load a piece of software on a laptop or a desktop computer and off you go.
Yep. And one of the things that I think Christian said earlier is important is, though the price of entry is really low because you probably have all of that equipment right there. One of the pieces that's important is, and I think this has turned some people away, is it isn't always that easy to operate. There are some nuances. There are some techniques and tricks about doing it. And if you're not patient enough to watch and listen and learn, you might not understand why something doesn't seem to be working for you when it works for somebody else. And I tend to be pretty inquisitive. And if I don't understand why something is doing what it's doing, I'll dig into it until I have it figured out. And so I've been able to figure out a lot of those different things, like how to get the attention of a DX station on JT65 or FT8 when everybody is calling you. There are ways to time your call, to put it somewhere in their receiving band pass without stepping right on them. And there are different ways to try to get their attention, but you don't figure that out until after you've used it for a while. So if people aren't patient, aren't really interested in getting into the nuts and bolts of how to use it, it might not hold their attention for long.
Yeah.
I can say I started, I'm not completely void of digital. I still have it here, D-Star. And when I first got licensed in 2012, I thought HF is a little further down the road for me. I'm not quite ready to buy the coax. I didn't have an HF radio at the time, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to get an HT that would allow me to at least hear what was going on in the world. It wasn't HF, it was digital. And D-Star really gave me that opportunity. Now, it did take a little bit. It's not the hardest thing to do, but, when you're a newer ham, everything's kind of tricky. Everything's it's almost built in a way to challenge you to, come on now, you can figure this out. You're going to have to go to this website. You're going to have to sign up for this, and then you're going to put that over here. and then you're going to program your radio in such a way, and then you're going to need this external little thing that goes into your computer. It's got an antenna. You can build a box if you want. And so some people may be put off by that, but I was really interested by saving up and buying a radio that would do D-Star so I could, quote unquote, work the world as I'm waiting to really work it on HF, because that was my goal in the end. But D-Star gave that to me, and it took some programming, and it took some programming for the radio. But, it is an interesting world, and you can submerge yourself into this stuff pretty quickly, because I got on a D-Star kick, and if I did it again, I would fall back for it again. It's just one of those things where I don't go right to it. And so if time slips away and I'm like, I haven't played with D-Star in quite a while. But that was kind of the mode for me. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's you hit on a lot of really good things there. One of the things I'll throw out here is one of the things that we're working on, the digital team, is something to help the community sort of what are the differences and similarities between D-Star, Fusion, and DMR, which tend to be the three big digital voice modes that we see on 2 meters and 440. That was also on the 2 meters 440 side. That was also my introduction, was D-Star. Have my little 70 centimeter D-Star radio, and like you said, there's some intricacies with how you access reflectors, but if you understand the infrastructure about how you connect, some of those similarities exist between those three big modes, but how you access it is a little bit different. Now, the purists might get upset with that's not real radio because there are computers and there are other things that are going on between one radio and another, but I'm fascinated by technology, so that doesn't really diminish the interest factor for me, but I'm fascinated with how we can leverage the RF piece with computers and technology and create this big network and be able to talk to people, be able to pass messages. All of the functions that you have really in the palm of your hand really kind of blows my mind. And so some of the other things that we're working on for you are, I recently, keep in mind, I am not the technical guy that old Sidecar Steve is. So I challenged myself and I built a hotspot. Now, if you want to picture a monkey trying to pound a square peg in a round hole, that's me with manipulating electronic equipment. I'll cut to the chase. I actually was successful and it works and I use it. And so our point there is to not be intimidated by some of those things. And it's really neat to see when you build something, when you put it together, you get so much more of an understanding of how it works. I got frustrated a little bit with the setup once it was connected and configuring it and hooking it to Wi-Fi and that sort of thing. But again, as you encounter troubles and you work through them, you learn so much. And I think that's a huge benefit of it. So these are some of the things that we're going to be working on for you and for the community that hopefully will be really useful and folks will enjoy that kind of thing.
Let's go over and look again. Oops-a-doo. Let me pull back up here. Trying to get you guys some of the links. Going back over to our question on the Facebook and just seeing some of that. We see Eric mentions D-Star. He gravitated to it easier than he did to Fusion, so he was looking for a different way to get started quicker, I guess. Riddy is brought up by Daniel. Butch says he's starting in 91 on SSB, operated mostly that with a little CW until the year QST did an article on PSK 31. He decided to give it a try, and he liked it. David on HF, I like only keyboard modes like PSK 31. Olivia, which I've never heard of before. Riddy, and he enjoys the interaction that can occur. Jamie Fusion because it sounds better, and I can send pics to buddies that have the same gear, FT8, to get awesome DX with my 100 watts and a wire, and RIDI because it's just plain cool. Started with D-Star, but it is dead and dying fast. That's an interesting perspective. I don't know that that's true, but it could be. I need to probably dip back into it a little bit. Is any signs that what happens to the digital modes when they start to fade off? They just keep regenerating new ones. Some of them have, I guess a better way to phrase this is, have digital modes died and become useless? People have abandoned them?
I don't think so. I think they've evolved. You don't hear a lot about JT65 or JT9, but there are still some fanatic followers, and you can still find people working those modes. I think that as with anything, it's kind of cyclical. Something new will come out and grab everyone's attention, but some of the long haul modes, and when I say long haul, I mean over a period of time, things that have stuck around like RIDI will never go away. People will always go back to those. PSK 31, I've seen that there's still a religious following there, and there's always somebody to be found on that mode. So I think some of the ones, some of the faddish ones may sort of peak and go away, but overall, I think everybody seems to find something that really works, and you'll always find small communities of folks that really stick with those modes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and the modes that you like. I mean, you get a niche and you kind of just say, this is what I like, and away you go. And so it's good.
This would be the point of the show where I want to encourage you, if you're digital, you're new ham, you're interested in digital, you're interested in everything, and you're still trying to figure out where your people are and what modes and what kind of operating you enjoy. And we all go through that process, and I think we all evolve as things go, and different things interest us. I would invite you to check out our Discord channel. It's a modest group there, and we have some activity there where you can ask questions. It's probably the best way to get to the digital team is to just ask your questions in there in that digital mode channel. That way we can kind of collect them, bring them back, bring Adam back to talk about that, think about ways to create content to teach a broader audience of people, so we're not just directly pointing out one person. So it's an invitation to join us on Discord if you would like to do that. And in the meantime, we'll work on creating some very fundamental bricks as to build on in our digital mode. So we'll add this to our segment, and that's the way we'll do it. How's that sound?
Yeah, we need to kind of get a feel from the community. It's like, what digital modes do you really want to know about? So, and I would say let's break it down to maybe digital modes for the technicians and then the digital modes for the generals. So let's leave it at where DMR, D-Star, Fusion, and those are more a VHF, UHF mode versus FT8, Olivia, JT65, JS8 call, and Whisper. That's the mode I want to start playing with a little bit personally. And
actually, I have a note on my to-do list, a segment that I think for Christian would be best titled "Whisper to Me," because I think that speaks to him. But yeah, Whisper is.
Wow, gosh, I thought we were going to get through the show without any calls from HR, but I don't know.
And I'm not going into HR. Yay!
Yeah.
Just joined us, and here he goes. Whisper to me, girl.
There you go. See, I knew that would just communicate with you. But yeah, being able to analyze propagation and your ability to get out with antennas, Whisper is really, really good for that. So yeah, we've got a whole smorgasbord of things that we want to get to, and we want to appeal to the entire range. But like you said, working on some of the basics initially, and being able to get everybody who's interested into some of these really neat things is our ultimate goal.
Yeah, so Discord has two options for you. If you're a digital master, a Yoda, a guru, or whatever it is, you can join the digital mode team. There's a digital team that's gathered together with Adam. Again, this is his neighborhood in the 100 Watts of Wire community. So you can join him over there, and you can ask your questions and just talk about digital in the digital mode section. But it's all being kind of funneled through Discord. Although we do great stuff on Facebook, it's a little harder. Uh-oh, did I freeze? I froze up.
Uh-oh.
Oh, my.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, Lord. I'll take this off. I knew it was going to be a problem. HR. Hey, I can't win. I'll just try to take it off. All right, so check us out on Discord over there, and we'll get you set up, and we'll continue our conversation about the digital modes. Adam, thanks for coming. Thanks for your service to the country. Thanks for your friendship. Really appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
Thanks for having me. I know I bring the rent of the community down when I show up, but hey, you left the door unlocked, so
I got to leave the key under the door. I mean, look, hey, one more. We can't. I got Steve. I think you actually elevated the level.
Yes, you did.
He checks off so many boxes. It's like, if I could tell everything about you, then see, that would be the thing. But I can't tell. He's a private guy, and he's in the military, still active. But as soon as you retire, we're getting into all these stories, all that stuff.
We're going to the dark side.
Going to the dark side.
That's
Thanks for coming, brother. Best to you and your family. Is that where your son's going to school? Is your kid going?
That is. I'm an Aggie dad. That's for sure.
Congratulations, man. All right, brother. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
All right, let me.
Thanks, Adam.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about the 100 watt IDs while we've got a minute to do so. You can go to 100 Watts and a Wire on. Let's see. Well, it's on the internet. Let's put it on there. Let's get it there for you. 100wattsandawire.com. You can listen to all the latest episodes. We've got the 40-meter Isotron antenna review has now been posted this week. It's very interesting. The 30-day review is a peer review system which you can participate in if you have your 100 watt ID. It's easy to get. Over 5,000 of them have been issued. You go to the website, click on 100 watt ID. Very simple, basic information. Heck, we even got a position there to teach you how to find it if you've lost it. And then you can see the community here that's got 100 watt IDs. Then you simply go over to the 30 days tab. If you want to be a reviewer, what happens with the reviews is the show buys the gear, ham adjacent gear, ham radio gear. We send it to you for 30 days. You beat it up, come on the show and talk about it, and you get to keep it. You can keep it. We just want to put together an honest review system so people in our community will have good ways of spending their money. We are not trying to spend your money for you, but that's how you get yourself a 100 watt ID. All right, back here in the studio with Steve-O. How about that? We got a brain. Somebody with a brain has finally come to help us. We've got Gummy Bitch
and
who
elevate us.
We got
Gummy
this guy.
Bitch departed. He's
what happened?
Out.
He didn't even give me a chance to fire him. He's just out. He finds a bag of gummies and he's can't find him anymore.
The hell with you guys.
I was
got
thinking
my gummies and he didn't want to share.
Initially, I was just thinking, he's got a head full of hair. We need that. And that was like all the prerequisite at all. You see the guys that come here, we think about stuff and it just burns our hair right off. Another bald guy I got to bring in here. But, GB is missing. We are starting to get a little worried about him. Anyhow, if you've got a question for us, put a Q in front of it, drop it in here. Our podcast listeners are invited to join us every Saturday morning. At least at this point, this is a really good time to join us for the live broadcast. We record it, stream it out there, bring our friends in here into the chat, and let your voice be heard here as we engage. Some questions have come in through the form. Some others have been coming in different ways, so let's get into our questions for today, Steve. All right, you ready for this? Now, Steve does not let me show him. We can't, so this is why a whole digital team was necessary. These questions come up, I'm like, can't. How do you do whisper? And a shrug. And then it's like, next question. So we had to bring some
I
people
don't know.
in.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah,
I'll
let's
get
look
back
it
to you.
up. We do look them up when we can't, but hopefully we can answer some questions here quicker than that, because nothing is worse than, hold on a second, lick the finger and it says here. Let's just go to the manual. It doesn't make for good listening. All right, let's take a look at our first question for this week. What would you add for traps to make a multi-end-fed antenna? That's too many feds in this one. Let me see if I can start over again. What would you add for traps to make a multi-end-fed half-wave antenna? Looking for 10 through 80s. That's Kilo Echo 5 Alpha Delta X-ray.
I haven't thought about traps for an end-fed antenna. I mean, loading coils, yeah, because that would effectively lengthen the antenna to give you, lower bands. But to add a trap, I don't see that, because a trap basically is just a roadblock to a particular frequency. So if you put in say a 10-meter trap on your end fed that is half-wave end fed, for example, that's cut for 80 meters, the antenna is just going to look like a half-wave for excuse me, a half-wave for 10 meters, and I would just utilize the whole length. It will still tune, but I personally don't see the need for a trap. But a loading coil, which I've seen people add, that effectively lengthens the antenna, not shortens it like traps do.
Okay. There you go. Okay, dokie, let's move on. We got another question. I want to get over to our forum. We also have a forum that we drop out so people can ask questions before the show begins. If you're here live, you can put a Q in front of it, and we will pull those. Usually they're pulled by Scotty, who now has the nickname of GB. That stands for Gummy Bitch. And I can't wait to have Pastor Joe meet Gummy Bitch.
Oh.
It's proper.
Yeah, well, first he's going to have to consult with us and, say, hey, that's not nice. And I know I'm going to HR again, so, hey, I don't care.
This all started with, I shouldn't get into it. Let's take a question, a quick follow-up from Ben. He's Kilo X-Ray 4 Tango Quebec from our chat room live here during the recording of our podcast. What's the difference between a trap and a loading coil?
A loading coil essentially electrically lengthens the antenna. So you'll physically have a shorter antenna, but then with a loading coil, it can electrically, as far as the radio sees it, as a longer antenna. A trap is, like I said, it's basically just kind of like a stop sign for the RF. The simplest way to view it is you see traps on a multi-band beam, where you have these little cylinders that are on the antenna element. So the element is cut for 20 meters for a tri-bander, and then you have a trap that's tuned for 15 and another trap tuned for 10. And what that does is basically makes the antenna look like it's a half wave for 10 meters, 15 meters, and then the full length for 20 meters, because the trap is tuned for a particular band, where the loading coil is just makes the short antenna look longer.
Okay.
Got it.
Spike, I got your question about talking about EMT, protecting your gears from, what is it, EMP type stuff? Or is it EMT? What am I getting confused with here? EMP. So we'll talk about that for sure. We'll bring that up and talk about ways to protect your gear and that sort of stuff. Going to the forum that was posted earlier pre-show. So we'll do a little bit of a mix here. If you are here live, Q in front of the question will grab you in real time. This one from Dan, November 1, Zulu Tango Tango. Dan asked, noise Is it normal to hear a lot of noise or static on 80, 40, and 20 meters?
Yeah, a lot of so there's noise are kind of a couple of different ways. Your radio's gonna generate noise internally just by the mere fact of the preamplifiers, the amplifying stages within the radio. So from when you go, you have an RF stage that amplifies the signal, then it goes through a mixer, then it's going to go through the IF section, and it's going to every amplifier or every device that amplifies has inherent noise. It we can get it down to the really low noise floor, but then the costs go up. So there's kind of this point of cost versus benefit, and so you have that. So internal, and how you find out how much noise your radio generates internally is just disconnect the antenna, and then you'll hear some noise. The other noise is external to the radio itself. It's going to be noise that's generated by, it could be switching power supplies, the AC power lines in your neighborhood, any other devices in the atmosphere, around you, in the environment. There's that's man-made noise. Then we have natural noise, which the sun is generating noise just by the mere fact that of the fusion that the sun is doing. It's going to generate some noise. So you kind of lump all that together, and that's what we have. And then noise is, our radios. I mean, the noise floor is more concentrated towards the lower end, but and that's where we see it more on 160, 80, 40 meters, and 20 is kind of that that boundary that I found that. And above 20, the noise is a lot less, because most of our noise generation of man-made, so that's the QRM, which means man-made noise, is kind of down lower, and our natural noise, which is QRN, is also down lower. Not saying that it doesn't occur at higher frequencies, but it tends to be more towards the low end. So we kind of got like three things going against us, and our radios, natural, and man-made noise, and hence you get on 80 meters and holy crap, it's S5, F7 noise floor.
I don't know if this is like a Top Gun. I feel like I'm doing something.
Kind of having a cruise
for our listeners.
I'm
dressed, like a pilot in the Air Force, and I feel empowered to give like a thumbs up, like a real sturdy, quick one. I really mean it. I don't know. I think saluting is I would love to, but I feel I can't be an imposter there. Another question coming off the forum. We use the forum during the week and before the show starts, that kind of thing. If you are in the chat, use a Q in front of your question. I see one in there. I'll get to in just a second without the Q. We'll have demerits for you for not using the Q. But, just kidding. Let's see, Lloyd. This could be actually one for Adam. I could pass on to Adam, but he's asking with regards to a digital voice type gathering. So that's kind of more Steve. Steve is our net control manager. He kind of handles that stuff. Would you like a weekly digital voice gathering of the willing on sunflowersystem.com? I don't know what that is, but as long as things are
the Kansas State linked repeater system.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
I'm totally all for it as long as whatever information is being put out there in our name is of our name and what the integrity of what we do is. I'm cool with that. I guess we talked to Steve. It sounds like it's digital, so maybe it's a Steve and an Adam question there, but I'm cool with it as long as it's something.
Make it so, number one. Get it done.
All right. If you want to do that, Lloyd, KC5FM, we got your email. We can talk to you about that. Seems easy.
Yeah, you brought it up. You're in charge now. Make it so.
Is that me?
No. Lloyd.
Oh, Lloyd. Okay, make it so.
Lloyd, make it so.
Thumbs up. Big thumbs up. There was a question here again. I'm looking for those cues. Kilo Echo Zero United November Victor. Tom asked, do you put the coil at the fed end or the far end? Do you put the
I've seen them
coil
both.
at the fed end or the
For
far
end
end?
feds, I've seen them. People put them at the end and on the far end, and then as far as on the feed end, which a lot of antennas have that. You look at your 5/8 wave. Well, that's more matching network or they refer to them as a loading coil on a 5/8 wave 2-meter antenna. But typically that's just a matching network because the antenna is already 5/8 wave in length. So, but for loading coils, on end fed antennas, I've seen guys put them on the ends. There's nothing saying that you can't put it on the closer to the feed end. Give it a try, see what happens.
Back to our questions here from our friend Paul, WD9GCO. This one came from Facebook. Suggestions for an inexpensive antenna that works well for portable operations. For our members of the chat here, go ahead and put your suggestions in there. We'll share those as well. So again, suggestions for an inexpensive antenna that works well for portable operations. This one we'd have to mine down just a little bit because not all portable operations have space. So you're dealing with some space issues sometimes, but let's say, for instance,
he's just asking about the antenna. So
okay, so we're just talking about antenna. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead quickly and just say I like a link dipole. I kind of fell in love with those somewhere in 2020, and that's my go-to right there. And that's a real dipole because you're cutting the length to 80 or 40 or 20 or 15, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And when you link them together, they become a true connected monoband dipole for each one you cut. So that's what I would suggest. What says you, Steve-O?
Same thing. Dipole.
Ooh, dipole. There you go. Dipole. So monoband dipole is awfully sexy out there, portable in the field. Now, if you're talking about vertical, go ahead, because why?
Well, depending on your radio. So now, the newer radios all have built-in tuners and things like that. But if you're bringing out an old radio that's 20, 30 years old, they don't have built-in tuners. So then that's another device you got to bring along, an external tuner. You don't need that with a resonant dipole antenna. It's just you tune the antenna and away you go. So it's one less piece of gear you got to pack with you. So, but it all depends on what you're bringing. So, but to me, dipole's the way to go. Just
hear that? You hear that? You can hear it in our podcast audio. Whenever you hear that movement, that's my quick, snappity thumbs up. It's my, oh boy, I can't even pull it off. It's a shame. You can dress the boy up, but anyhow, we got time. Well, let's do one more question here. I'd like to operate 80 meters through 10 meters. Any suggestions on an all-band dipole that I could get up fairly quickly?
There is no all-band dipole. Dipoles are pretty much, resonant for the frequency they're cut. So the only thing I can think of is a fan dipole, which is a bunch of dipoles that are spaced apart with spacers, and you have all the wires there in single feed. Another option is what's called a maypole, and it's basically the same thing. You just have you're putting up a bunch of inverted V's, but instead of all made into a dipole or having spacers, you just kind of have, okay, my 80-meter legs are going north-south, my 40-meter legs are going east-west, my 20-meter legs are kind of splitting between those, my 10-meter legs are going here. So, I mean, you could, and basically it's just one big maypole, and so that's another option that you can go through. But as far as a single set of wires or whatever, the off-center fed dipole, the 80-meter length, so it'll be about 135 feet, pretty much covers all the bands. And if there's a the 40-meter off-center fed dipole doesn't do 15 very well. So if you want one antenna to cover pretty much all the bands, the 80-meter off-center fed is pretty much your go-to.
All right, there you go. Quickie, snappy thumbs up right there. Well, thank you all for your questions. I put the forum in the chat, so while we're apart, which won't be very long, I hear there's a 160 contest going on for single sideband this weekend. Steve, we got to jump on that. I think we need to find a time to stream in the evening, because you and I both now we have 160. We could kind of search and pounce and give it out, and I know that didn't come out right. Search and pounce and give it out. That is not how that was intended to go. But I'm thinking of doing a live stream later on, maybe just to make some contacts on 160, and I approach 160 in a different way during a contest. I'll try to work different states instead of points. I give them the points, of course, and give them the exchange, but for me, I don't even work the same state over. I'm just testing that antenna. So maybe we'll meet again on Try 160, depending on what our family's got going on today. Tomorrow, on Sundays, of course, 7 o'clock Central Time, live stream. And that's really fun. We get together and we get to watch the guys. We got relays across the country. And we get to see Uncle Paul and his nuts. And he does all this stuff on the... Yeah, Uncle Paul's Nuts. It's a product. I think he sells them by the jar. No, he keeps them in the jar. Yes, that's it. Uh-huh. But people like to see his mustache, his perfectly combed hair, that sort of thing. So you can join us, check into the 100 Watts Sunday evening net, 7 o'clock Central Time. What did we miss, Steve? We miss anything? I think we got it all.
We just missed Gummy Bitch. That was about it.
Gummy Bitch. I mean, this... you can't give yourself your own nickname. We know that he's on drugs, number one. Number two, he missed an appointment. There probably will be some HR mandatory drug tests, which, And you missed the live show. You're a bitch. So Gummy Bitch is GB
here's
for
a
short.
Little cup. Here's a little cup. Fill it up.
We don't even.
Fill it up and
just go. It goes downhill. About 57 minutes into the show, it goes right to the toilet. But just piss in the toilet. We know you're on drugs. We just tell HR. We know. Okay. We know. We don't have to test him. Oh no! Here he is. Pastor Joe says, "I can still hear you." Well, damn. Well, there you go. Thank you all so much. Appreciate hanging out with you. Look for us, because we could jump on 160, and if we do, Steve and I may do some sort of... we get on the air and have some fun. We may just go up and down the dial, let each other know where we're headed, try to work a station here, wherever we can go, and see what we can do. Not everybody can do 160, and this contest in particular is one that I really enjoy for testing that antenna. It's such a pain to keep it up in the air all year round, to do the maintenance on it, but this is benefit time. This is the time where we can see, is it worth it? How's it doing?
Yeah,
how's propagation?
Is it worth it dealing with that big ass antenna? And it truly is a big ass antenna.
Nothing wrong with big asses. Hey, I gotta go. We will see you tomorrow. We will see you later, maybe even later today. Thank you to our podcast audience. Remember, every Saturday morning we're live, so you can come by and be with us in the chat and get your voice heard here as well. 73 for now, friends. By all means, if you can, what you want to do is to please try and stay above the noise. 73, Steve.
7-3, Christian, and thank you everyone for watching.
And we'll leave you with one of those. Huh? Give it to him, Steve. There you go. Get it in there. That's the wrong finger. It's the wrong finger.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsinawire.com.